Sunday sees the final, no surprise, and PSG are huge favourites.
I don't think Chelsea should be here in this final. They've had a soft run to the final. They've not really beat any teams of any consequence.
The Parisiens were the Champions League holders. They had dominated everyone in their path. Meanwhile, Chelsea were the young team earlier in their project, the Conference League champion, the club giving out 10-year contracts.
PSG are playing so well. They've got so many options. Chelsea are a young team, a young developing team. This could get quite messy on Sunday.
How important is it that your players are willing to suffer on Sunday, because there will be long times in the game where you do not have the ball?
I will say that. To avoid transition and to defend better in the moment that we lose the ball.
In May 2024, Mauricio Pochettino was sacked as Chelsea manager as they had no style of play, sat mid in the Premier League, and had just wasted nearly £1 billion on flops like João Felix, Enzo Fernandez, and Christopher Nkunku. But just 1 year later, this team of flops would lift the FIFA Club World Cup, led by a genius manager who literally outplayed the most powerful team of modern football. But how on earth was this possible? This is the story of how Enzo Maresca took a team of underperforming flops and literally made them the best team in the world. In May 2024, Mauricio Pochettino was fired from his position as Chelsea manager, marking the end of a disastrous season. Despite spending nearly £1 billion in transfers over the past 2 seasons, Chelsea sat 12th that season, missing European qualification, a far cry from the elite club they had once been. Pochettino arrived with high expectations, but those expectations were quickly dashed. The team was a disjointed mess, lacking a clear style of play. The signing of João Felix, Romeo Lavia, Caicedo, Nkunku, Nicholas Jackson were meant to spark a new era, but instead, Chelsea's big money signings were underperforming. The players failed to gel, and Pochettino's attempt to impose a tactical system fell apart in the face of poor results. Chelsea was stuck in a cycle of poor form and tactical confusion, a team of expensive flops. Chelsea's £1 billion investment, including the arrivals of João Felix from Atletico Madrid, Enzo Fernandez from Benfica, and Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig, were expected to bring instant success, but the reality was far different. Felix, a player with world-class potential, was underwhelming. Enzo Fernandez, a highly rated midfielder, struggled to settle into Chelsea's chaotic system, and Nkunku, one of Europe's top scorers, was hampered by injuries and failed to adapt. Despite the individual talents in the squad, Chelsea lacked chemistry, and Pochettino couldn't find a balance. The team seemed lost, unsure of its identity. One week they would play with intensity, the next week they'd crumble against mid-table opposition. The results didn't lie. Chelsea's big money signings were beginning to look like overpaid flops, the financial crisis and identity loss. But the problems weren't just on the pitch. The financial turmoil was starting to show. After the Abramovich era, Todd Boehly and his consortium were trying to reshape the club, but their plan was becoming increasingly chaotic. Chelsea had become a financial juggernaut, spending enormous sums on players, but without clear direction or strategy. There was no long-term vision. The club was splashing cash in the transfer market, with little regard for tactical fit. With Pochettino struggling to make sense of the squad, Chelsea found themselves adrift in the league, failing to qualify for the Champions League and missing out on European football altogether. The team's lack of identity was now mirrored in the boardroom's lack of direction. Chelsea had been in turmoil since the shock sacking of Tuchel in 2022 and a 12th place finish in 2023-24. The last chance. Enter Maresca. It was clear something had to change. Chelsea could no longer afford another season of mediocrity. On the 1st of July 2024, Enzo Maresca was brought in to replace Pochettino with the weight of Chelsea's future on his shoulders. The decision raised eyebrows. Maresca was relatively unknown, a gamble after Pochettino's failure, but he was the club's last hope. The pressure was enormous. He had to find a way to transform a team of overpriced and underperformers into world beaters. And this mess will take some real cleaning up. Maresca's first task was clear: restore Chelsea's identity and unite the squad. But could he really make a difference? Could a relatively unknown manager really turn Chelsea's fortunes around? Or would he be yet another casualty of a club stuck in crisis? But of course, a miracle is about to happen soon. Maresca's tactical revolution and the road to the final. The new manager, new system. When Enzo Maresca was appointed in February 2025, Chelsea was at a crossroads. The team was full of individual talent, but it lacked structure and cohesion. Pochettino had tried and failed to implement a system that worked for Chelsea, and now Maresca was tasked with picking up the pieces. The first challenge for Maresca was clear: instill discipline, clarify roles, and bring tactical clarity to a squad that had been adrift for months. Maresca's first tactical move was to implement a 4-2-3-1 system designed to give Chelsea more balance and control. This setup allowed Chelsea to be compact defensively while also being fluid in attack. He repurposed club captain Reece James from a traditional right-back into a hybrid midfield role, which will be key on the final. In possession, James would step into central midfield alongside Moises Caicedo as a double pivot, giving Chelsea the steel they needed to dominate possession and break up opposition attacks. This partnership provided Chelsea with a solid base, enabling their attacking players to have more freedom higher up the pitch. Up front, Cole Palmer was utilized as an inverted winger, drifting inside from the right, while João Pedro and Pedro Neto was the focal point of the attack. Maresca wanted to maximize Palmer's creativity while also giving Pedro the space to flourish. Enzo Fernandez, positioned as an attacking midfielder, was tasked with pulling the strings and linking up play between attack and midfield. The tactical shift and early results. Maresca's tactical changes started to pay off almost immediately. In his first few matches, Chelsea's performances improved drastically. While the results weren't instant, the team began to show signs of solidarity and direction. The defense was now more organized, with Chalobah and Colwill forming a reliable central defensive partnership. Fullbacks like Malo Gusto and Marc Cucurella were given more freedom to attack, while the midfield shield of Caicedo and James provided protection. Chelsea's pressing game became more coordinated as well, as Maresca implemented a high press that disrupted opposition possession high up the field. This was particularly effective in the Europa Conference League, where Chelsea's aggressive pressing forced teams to make mistakes, allowing the Blues to launch quick counterattacks. The Conference League victory was a turning point. The team may have been struggling in the Premier League, but their dominance in Europe showed that Maresca was starting to get the best out of his squad. Chelsea's tactical discipline in the Conference League was a glimpse into the team they could become. They easily dispatched Real Betis in the final, with Cole Palmer delivering standout performances. Maresca's system of quick transitions, pressing high, and keeping a solid shape at the back was working wonders. Chelsea were looking like a well-oiled machine, a far cry from the disorganized mess they had been just a few months ago. The Conference League title was proof that Maresca's methods were effective. This made Chelsea the first club to have won all three current major UEFA competitions: UCL, UEL, UECL, and more to come. Chelsea thrashed a top-4 rival 3-0 in March, showing the league that a revival was on. Many fans thought this squad was hopeless, a disjointed rabble of overpriced names, one pundit said. But Maresca instilled belief. With the Conference League under their belts, Chelsea now had a new sense of belief. But their biggest challenge awaited in the FIFA Club World Cup. After advancing through the opening round with ease, they were set to face Fluminense in the semi-finals. In the semi-final, Maresca's tactical setup was put to the test. Fluminense, led by former Chelsea captain Thiago Silva, presented a formidable challenge. But Chelsea's defensive structure, combined with their high-pressing game, was too much for the Brazilian side. Maresca had studied Fluminense's game and recognized their weaknesses and nullified their attacking threats. In attack, Chelsea's quick transitions were deadly. The young Brazilian striker João Pedro, newly signed from Brighton, Enzo, and Cole Palmer. As the final approached, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Chelsea, under Maresca, had gone from being a team of underperforming flops to the superstars of PSG and lift the Club World Cup. How Maresca outclassed tactical brilliance, setting the stage: PSG's overconfidence and Chelsea's tactical precision. PSG walked into the game as the favorites, boasting players like Hakimi, Mendes, Vitinha, and Dembélé, all candidates for the Ballon d'Or. But Chelsea, under Enzo Maresca, wasn't intimidated. Having studied PSG's tactics thoroughly, Chelsea knew exactly how to exploit their weaknesses. Maresca set Chelsea up in a high-pressing 4-2-2-2 formation, with Caicedo and James in midfield, ready to disrupt PSG's build-up play, and Gusto and Cucurella offering defensive support while attacking. Chelsea's pressing strategy was clear: press high and forced mistakes from PSG's defenders. Chelsea's first goal came from perfect execution of Maresca's high press. Palmer intercepted a sloppy pass from PSG's defense, quickly passing to Gusto, who tried to shoot and was blocked, then delivered a perfect cross for Palmer to finish. PSG's defensive mistakes were immediately punished and felt the cold. PSG relied on Hakimi and Mendes to push forward, but Chelsea controlled them with a compact defense. Pedro Neto tracked Hakimi, while Gusto provided cover on the right. In midfield, Caicedo and James closed down PSG's creative outlets like Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz. Every time PSG tried to transition, they were met with a well-drilled Chelsea defense and high press that forced them to play recklessly. On the second goal, Levi Colwill launched a looping diagonal ball down the right flank. Perfect timing and weight. Searching out Cole Palmer just inside the PSG penalty area, Palmer received the pass, cut inside, then executed a deceptive body feint. He shook off Vitinha by moving one way, faking intent, then pulling the ball back inside. After selling the defender, Palmer struck a left-footed shot into the bottom left corner of Donnarumma's goal, doubling Chelsea's lead. As PSG pushed forward, Chelsea exploited the gaps in their defense. Palmer, Gusto, and Pedro were instrumental in Chelsea's quick counters. The third goal was a clinical counter-attack, a swift pass from Palmer to João Pedro, who finished with composure, securing Chelsea's 3-0 victory. In the final stages, Chelsea's high pressing and quick transitions had left PSG helpless. The tactical brilliance of Maresca made sure PSG's star power didn't matter. Chelsea was in complete control, from defense to attack. Enzo Maresca had achieved the impossible, silencing every doubt as he turned flops into world beaters, etching his name in football history. In the span of a year, Chelsea went from laughingstock to world champions, proving that with the right manager and vision, even a team of flops can conquer the world. Enzo Maresca had not only restored Chelsea's identity, he etched his name in club history next to the greats. What if I told you Luis Enrique did it twice in Europe?